Introducing
Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. Stories of everyday women breaking barriers and building wealth through real estate.
Let's get it. Boss. BOSS.
Hello. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Washington. Thank you for joining me once again. Today, I'm super excited for my guest. Her name is Nicole Wilhelm. She is a residential real estate agent out in San Francisco, out in the Bay Area, and she works for Compass Group. So I'm really excited to talk to her about what's going on in the Bay market and also just the state of affairs with Compass as a new technological brokerage that, you know, is a little bit different from your traditional brokerages like Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker, all these other ones that you've heard of for years out here. So I'm really excited to, you know, hear from her and see what she has to tell us. And I know she's going to drop some great gems on us. So Nicole, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
I'm wonderful. I'm blessed. I'm healthy. So can't complain.
Man, that's the only thing you can ask for these days, right?
Absolutely.
I wish blessings on everyone.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right into it. Like, you are killing the game out in San Francisco, which everybody knows is pretty much like the most expensive real estate market in the country. So I just want to talk about you first and foremost. How did you get into real estate, and just give us a little overview of where your career has led you to this point?
Oh, that's a loaded question. But great. I was like, can we warm up first? Maybe my favorite color. But yeah, I used to think about life as like, you know, very happenstance, but I know that that's not the truth. I read the book The Alchemist a while back, and I'm realizing now that everything in your life happens for a reason, and there's omens and there's things that are leading you on this path, right? And so when I was young, I would go to these open houses with my parents, and I remember having so much fun in them. And I thought it was weird, right? Because you don't see a lot of kids going to open houses. But at the same time, I am an only child, so I figured my parents just wanted to bring me along. I found myself giving them opinions on like paint colors and what I thought was cool. But I suppressed that because my mom is Filipino, my dad's Black, and my mom was like, you need to get education, right? Because an education is something that people can't take from you. So I got my undergrad in Hawaii at Hawaii Pacific University. I thought I was going to be a diplomat or an ambassador. Then we went to war as a country, and I was like, ooh, psych, I don't know. You know, like that's a lot of pressure. I met my husband, was like, do I want to have a relationship where I bring another person to another country and we work this thing out, however this works out. I did PR and marketing for a while. And then I got my master's in integrated marketing communications with a concentration on PR. I was a VP of marketing for a startup. Didn't see any one that looked like me, you know, either a mixed woman in a management position, and I didn't see any of them with kids. And there was a moment where I was like, this is not the life I want to live. I started researching other opportunities, and one of which was real estate investing. So I got into real estate investing during the recession. Everyone thought I was crazy. I thought I was crazy, you know. But now hindsight's 2020, and I wish I would have bought more. I wish I would have, you know, read Rich Dad Poor Dad sooner. And then fast forward, I became an agent about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. I joined forces with my husband. If you ask him, I'm on a husband and wife real estate team. If you ask me, we're on a wife and husband real estate team. It doesn't matter. It's all love and all family. And I'll never look back.
Well, we all know who really runs the ship, so we'll just leave it at that.
I appreciate you.
Okay, cool. So you joined Compass. Can you just tell people a little bit that may not be familiar with Compass, like that specific brokerage, and you know how it's different, how they're kind of changing the game in the real estate brokerage market?
Yeah, excellent question. First and foremost, I was attracted to Compass when I want to say it was like 3 years ago. I heard from a gentleman who was a Tony Robbins enthusiast, and he came to our brokerage. I was working at Sotheby's at the time, and he's like, there's a company called Compass. It's Urban Compass, and they're transitioning to Compass. And right now, they are going into the residential space. He was from New York, and I was like, wow, a lot of things start in New York and head over. That's interesting. I'll look into it, right? If we have common interest in regards to, always growing and improving ourselves, I'll look into it. I looked into it, found out that the CEO was Black and Jewish. He was from Berkeley. He was doing this because of his mom, right? His mom was a realtor, and he wanted to give her a competitive advantage since she was older and didn't have the resources that other agents have. I thought that was super dope. I was like, wow, okay, someone that cares about their family. Let me, look into it even further. I made a call to Compass and said, hey, look, you don't have a presence in the East Bay. We are willing to go to San Francisco, where you have a market share and a presence in an office, and do the commute. That transformed our business because we were the only team in the East Bay that was hired for a while. And then we helped them build out their technology for the East Bay, which was great. It helped me marry my startup life or tech life with real estate. And that's why I meant about having omens along the way, and The Alchemist being a book that everyone should read, just to be a reminder of that you're on the right path. And the more that you accept and acknowledge the gifts that you were given and find ways to utilize them, the better your career will be. But the specifics for Compass, I have yet to see a brokerage that marries technology and real estate in the way that it does. One of the ways I feel like Compass really excels is it didn't wait for the pandemic to make the shift into technology. It was already on that path, right? And so it wasn't like there was a pause and they had to pivot. Like, we were already in that direction. So the tools that we had built, such as Agents Academy, and they interviewed a whole bunch of agents all over the country, all crushing it, and they created a platform in which we can all learn from. I didn't see a brokerage do that before. It was like a master's class for real estate agents. So it allowed us to learn tools from people. I like the fact that it had a collections, right? It's the Pinterest of real estate. So it's a little board that I could write, you could write. We're all literally on the same page. And our clients get the information the same time we do, which I think is great. It just allowed me to run my business like a business. And I didn't see other brokerages giving that same opportunity.
Absolutely. I like the transparency part of it. I think is super important, especially like you said, we're moving into the age where everything is shifting as far as technology, and brokerages like Compass. And then there's also one that everybody's familiar with called EXP, that we're a little bit, ahead of that curve. And now, everything's moving to technology focus. So great. And then I love how you said that you were the first kind of team in the East Bay, which is like Oakland area. So San Francisco kind of, pretty much got priced out. And then like with everything else, as far as gentrification, and they just started moving over and expanding more into the surrounding areas, which is Oakland. So cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And I like to piggyback on that. I think it's finally Oakland is getting the recognition it deserves, right? So I'm a San Francisco native, and I used to think like, man, what's happening over there in the East Bay and Oakland? Why is everyone moving? Even when I was younger. And my dad and mom were like, oh, now we're moving, and we're moving to a place called El Cerrito. I'm like, I don't even know where that is on the map, right? And it's literally like 30 minutes from San Francisco. We went, and I was like, oh, I get it. And so I think the migration that was happening from San Francisco to the East Bay is, it's not just happening because we're in a pandemic. I think it was always happening, but now it's happening at larger levels in a very shorter period of time, because everyone's starting to realize you got to live your life by design if you're going to stay at home, indefinitely.
Cool. So that's a perfect segue to something else that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, people know with this pandemic, a lot of more people are working from home, and some of those big tech companies that are based out in the Silicon Valley area, like Facebook, like Google, recently announced that they're going to allow their employees to work from home, for the next year, 2 years, wherever in the unforeseeable future. And that's had an impact on the real estate market. So can you just talk a little bit about that and how it's affected your business?
Oh yeah. It's funny. I didn't necessarily going into COVID-19 want to talk about it, and the fact that the shift is changing, especially in particular to our business, because we were doing really well, right? It's like we are having the best year of our lives, and I understand that for a lot of people that's not the case. So I was talking to some of my clients. It's like having survivor's remorse, right? Like you feel like, oh man, I shouldn't talk about it. Oh, I let me just bury it. However, being a person of color during this time, I don't want the only stories to be told about us are stories about, us getting murdered or injustice happening to us. So I now, open about talking about Black excellence, right? No, we're crushing it, right? We work twice as hard. And now, we are working at getting, just being equal and mattering. And then we're going to push it a little further and saying, all right, we're going to actually get what we deserve. And if we deserve excellence and we're working for it and we've been doing it, why not talk about it and share it now? So I would say just this month alone, I did what I made in a tech startup in a year, just in this month. And I recognize now, I think Zig Ziglar said it best, is the more people you help, the more you get what you want, but it's in direct proportion to the amount of service you provide others. So I feel blessed that, I'm an essential worker, right? That I can be that channel or that medium for people to use.
No, I love that quote. I literally just wrote that on somebody's comments or something on IG, some post the other day. So I love that quote, and it kind of goes with what you were saying, like the universe aligns, the alchemist, and what's for you will be for you. And as long as you're helping people, then you're going to provide value and it's going to come full circle to you. So that's awesome. So cool. So also talking about San Francisco, people also know it for, that's the original place for Airbnb. So can we talk a little bit about how that kind of battle, because that's gotten pretty contentious over the last couple of years with Airbnb versus San Francisco and New York and all these other big markets that were already expensive, but with the rise of Airbnb, that's kind of displacing a lot of the affordable housing in the area. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about where we are now, like the state of it now, because a lot of people aren't aware. I would say as far as Airbnbs, not a lot of people feel comfortable anymore staying at an Airbnb. So you're starting to see that market shift where those sellers are now putting their investment properties on the market. What you're also seeing too is Airbnbs in further areas or areas that are more remote. So you're not seeing them as much in San Francisco or Oakland. Trickles still, but it's more like Sacramento, or you'll start to see Lake Tahoe in larger amounts. What that does to the real estate market is now it provides more inventory if those people are looking at selling. However, it's not enough. It's never enough inventory for the amount of people that are currently living in the Bay Area. I think there has to be other things, such as credits to developers to create more below market rate housing. I think it isn't just an Airbnb issue; it's more of a city or county issue. And last year I had the opportunity. It was a blessing then, but I recognize it's even more so now that we can't travel, to go to Amsterdam because my cousin lives there. And I'm like, do you have homeless people? Or like, how come it seems that everyone makes around the same amount of money, or like everyone's happy? And she's like, oh, it's because we treat everyone generally the same. We give people the opportunity for housing. And I think if that was, the case here, you wouldn't see as much crime. Right? You wouldn't see as much social unrest, because that normally happens when people feel like they have nothing, or when they come from a place of scarcity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of basis of having a capitalist society. There are going to be haves and have-nots, and in order for people to be winners, there's got to be some people at the bottom. So that's the unfortunate side, but the good part about it is that generally anybody can go from a rags to riches story, and as long as you work hard and you have the right resources, you get introduced to the right people, and you have the drive, you can definitely succeed.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like I'm a product of that, right? My dad was in Indiana with, I think he has 9 brothers and sisters. They lived in a house of like, I think it was like a 2-bedroom. And he makes jokes like, your house is small when you have laundry and you throw it against the wall and it lands back in your bed. I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. Okay. Or my mom, like, she's from the Philippines. It's a third world country, My husband's mom's from the Philippines too. And we would joke about how we were raised and how our daughter's raised totally different. He used to live in a shed because there's so many people that lived in his house that he felt like, I need to get out. Lived in a shed, and we joke now, and we're like, it was the original tiny house or ADU, but I mean, like, you live in the shed, and it's. I think everyone should experience something like that, even if you can't replicate it because of how you were brought up. But maybe move to another country, maybe join the Rotary or an organization that allows you access to how other people live, so that you can have perspective on how you live. And if you have anything to give back, you can give back to them.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember when I was in grad school, we took a trip to the Dominican Republic, and it wasn't like the resort area of the Dominican Republic. It was like literally the neighborhoods and these like really poor income neighborhoods. And you really seen how these people live. And it was just a really humbling and life-changing experience, because it's like, no matter, how you think of hard times in the US or things that you've, been raised on, like, this is a different level. So it really makes you appreciate the things that you have more, for sure. All right. So before, you mentioned about, we always talk about on this show about diversity in real estate, because, all of my guests are women of color, and traditionally we've been a lower segment in the market. We're starting to grow for sure in the residential side. So just tell us about your experience and any challenges you faced as a woman of color in this industry.
Yeah, again, I start back from like my childhood. I feel like I was prepped for this, right? I started changing a story that I told myself before so I'd ask our CEO all the time. Maybe we should start with that. I would ask our CEO all the time when I saw him, I'd ask him one question, and I would work really hard and thinking of a question to ask. I was like, I know this time's really precious. One of the questions I asked is like, how do you be authentic, right? How do you be your unique self? And then what I was really trying to say to him, and I knew he understood, is like, how do I be unapologetically me, who's, Black and Filipino, who's a woman, who has, a corporate career, who doesn't want to, I never want our ancestors to be upset for the things that I do. So I always will try to take it up a notch, or like, as Michelle Obama says, go high. And what he told me is, if you can be the person you are when you're alone and still be happy about that person, like, and it doesn't matter who's watching, and you still have the same morals and ethics, that's how you're authentic. And I was like, great. So I took those little tidbits that I got from him and everyone else, and I started to create a brand. And I said, this is our brand. This is a Wilhelm team brand. We, will always choose to do the right thing, not only because it's the right thing, but I want to leave the door open for other, people of color to come in and say, wow, you can do it. That's how it's done. I don't have to do things shady. I don't have to feel like the door's closed on me. I can see that someone's leaving me a seat at the table. So for me, it was really important. And I am on the Diversity Council for Compass Northern California. I sit on a chair with another young lady, Cherish, and we are hoping to impact the real estate community in ways that it's never been seen before. I think just having that alone is amazing. Like, she's Filipino, I'm Black and Filipino. Before this, I never really saw people of color in the top teams nationwide. And this year, I'm a part of the network group, and we were number one, according to Real Trends, we were number one in California for large teams, number 3 in the nation. And I just want to create a world where my daughter can look at it and say, okay, my mom did it, so I'll do it too. I can do it too.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, you gotta make the world a better place than how you found it, because that's the only way that we see the tomorrows that our parents dreamed of, or Martin Luther King dreamed of, for instance.
Yeah, I think it's so dope. Like, a lot of people in our generation are blazing the trail into a lot of different industries that we were traditionally held out of on purpose, by law, by design, and everything. So I'm just excited to see, with the next generation, like a lot of the things that we were kept away from as far as real estate and finance, investing in the stock market, everything like that will kind of be like second nature to the next generation. So I'm super excited to see how that goes, and just all this Black excellence going around at this time is amazing.
I'm just juiced to be on this podcast with you. Like, real talk, to see, another woman of color doing it, being unapologetically you. It's inspiring. Like, being in the same room as you, even if it's virtual, you can still feel the vibes, right? And you can know that somebody is like hungry and motivated and knows the impact that they're having. I think that I couldn't think of a better time. And a lot of people will probably say, I can't believe, she said that. But I feel like if you are awakened during this time, right? If you stay woke during this time, you can recognize that we can start making changes. And I think if we look at taking positions of power, right? So either, you're in the leadership committee of your local MLS, or if you, whatever the industry you're in, but you find positions that can change either rules or regulations or how things are done in the past, that's how real change is made. And those, to me, are revolutions within themselves, right? You don't have to go out and protest if that's not your thing, but make impact in your own industry.
I want to ask your thoughts on this, because often when we're blazing that trail and we're the only one that looks like us in a room, it's like you kind of feel like you have to be the representative for all Black people or all Black women. So how do you kind of feel when you're in those type of situations?
Ooh, Lord. You came with the questions though. Hey, very differently than how I started. Very differently. I look at it as a transformation. I commonly say this to agents that are just starting out. I'll say, when you work harder on yourself or investing in yourself, the better your business will do. It's not about necessarily what you know in your business, but realizing that you are the business, right? So when you work on yourself, you are better for your clients, you're better for your community. And so when I started following my own advice and I took that to heart, I created routines for myself, like, okay, you're going to wake up at 4:00 in the morning, you're going to work out at this time, you're going to do this. I am prepping, right? I am sharpening my tools. I had somebody ask me too, like, oh, how does it feel when you are competing against agents whose mom's, cousin's, dad, sister's brother has been in the game forever, and they have all these connections, and you're the underdog? And I said, Abraham Lincoln talked about, if I had to chop down a tree, I'd spend more time sharpening my tools. So I'm out here every day, out here, day and night.
And planning, just, getting my strategy together to take over the game.
Right? and then you will. And so now when I enter into those rooms, I find that those rooms wait for me, right? I helped someone purchase 2 houses on one lot in Berkeley. And she didn't even see it, sight unseen, just from the photos I showed her online, because she had that much trust. And I told her, I feel so amazing that you would trust me in that way, right? That you would purchase something not seeing it. We did all the inspections. We went through all this stuff. I was running a little late from my previous meeting, and I get there and everyone's waiting for me. And I can't explain to you what that feeling feels like when 10 people are waiting on you and they go, all right, you're here. You got this. And you're like, yeah, what's up, guys? So you over there, you do this, you do whatever, and it becomes second nature. And it's no longer feeling the fear of the imposter syndrome, right? Because you hustled and you did it so much that you became the person you wanted to be. And now now it's really about dreaming bigger, which is one of the Compass principles. now I'm having trouble dreaming big enough, right? Now I'm like, okay, I did that, check, cool, all right. Should I go to the moon? You know what I mean? Should I go down?
Why not? The sky is the limit. You're only like limited by the thoughts that you have and the beliefs that you have in your own mind. So keep pushing the boundaries for sure. So with that being said, like, where do you see your business going in the next couple of years? Like, what are some things that you have coming up that you're working on now?
Yeah. I would say right now we are expanding our business to serve Sacramento, that area. So El Dorado Hills, Folsom. Basically, it's all the beautiful homes with pools that you want to move to because you want more space and you're trying to get out of the Bay. I think it's important for people to have that sanctuary, that place where they can refill themselves. And now people are looking at second homes, right? Because if you can afford to get something and still rent in the Bay and just go back and forth, great. Or maybe you should go buy something with your friends and you guys have your own little resort home that you all socially, you quarantine together. Yeah. So that we're re-looking and re-evaluating what's important to our clients and creating packages that fit their needs is one of the things we're working on. Another thing is I and my husband have been working a long time on creating divisions within our business. So now he's focusing more on the commercial landscape, apartment building, investing. So we are looking at creating a REIT or a platform for people to be able to invest, and not even large amounts, but in ways that they can at least start to build generational wealth or passive income. I think that's important. Another thing too that we're working on is an education series. We want to make sure that we leave breadcrumbs, right? So either you want to create a business with your significant other or your brother or whoever. I want to show people that it's possible. You just have to create swim lanes and you guys can crush it. If you want to do in real estate specifically, I can't think of a better industry to do that in, because it can be lonely and you want to be able to trust someone because you know what I mean? Like, do everything together. You do deals together. You need to be sure they wouldn't go behind your back and be like, take the commission, like.
Right. And then you also a lot of time on the road going back and forth. Like, like you said, it could be a lonely road out there. And especially, you're going through some time without getting any commission, doing any deals. You need that moral support.
Or someone that believes in you, right? And I feel super blessed that my husband and I, we don't believe in gender roles in that way. Like, if he has to stay home with our daughter while I go grind it out, he's cool with that. Like, he enjoys, I can be a lady boss because he's a girl dad, right? And he enjoys that role. And that's cool. I like it too. Like, when he's like, hey man, I got to go out and hustle, I'm like, do you? I'll have food ready. If I'm asleep and you come home, it's going to be in the microwave. I got you. We're just each other's biggest cheerleader. And I think that's important in just life. So if you could do it in business and you can make a life where you guys can travel together, do whatever, because your schedules are the same, then do it.
That's dope. Be a boss, date a boss, build an empire.
Hey, I'll buy that.
I didn't make that up. That's something that's been around for a while. So it just made me think of that. But last thing, when we're talking about San Francisco and California in general, like when people think of that, they think about cannabis. Have you all done any work or involved with any clients that are doing anything in that industry?
I'm so glad you asked that. So it can be a very taboo topic for people who are very traditional, but it is, it's funny. I was listening to Tiana Taylor and her new album, and We Got Love is one of my favorite songs on the album. And she talks about new money, right? So love is the new money. Green is the new money, right? So I believe that the cannabis space is where a lot of new money is coming from. And what I mean by that is we have some of our best friends, John and James. They have a brand. It's called James Henry SF. What I love about their brand and what they're doing is there are minorities in the game. And you would think like, so what, okay, that's huge.
Because to get in that business, you need a lot of capital. And, that's something Black people traditionally don't have. So that's dope that they've, broken that barrier for sure.
Oh my goodness. And they're brilliant. It is not just that, you know, I'm plugging them because they're people of color and they're my best friends. No, they are brilliant. And I think it's rare that, and it's unfortunate that it's so rare, that people of color are oftentimes, they're on the cutting edge of things, right? And when that happens and there's no rules or laws enforced, and you know, they can excel in that industry, meaning that, so cannabis back in the days, it was legal, right? And it was one of the like worst drugs you could do ever, and you would go to jail forever. And it just so happened that a lot of people of color would do really well, and they built businesses around it. And then the tide shift, and we turned as far as a society, and now cannabis is legal in a lot of states, and people feel more comfortable with that being an option. You see billboards. But now that opportunity for those people of color who were once in that group it's hard for them to get in, right? And it's cool. There are some programs, right, where you can have, I want to say an equity partner, right? So it's somebody who, you know, went to jail for an issue like that, and then it gives them an opportunity to get in. That's cool and all. I just think there needs to be more internships or things like that. So how we play a part in real estate is we make introductions, right? So I go, hey, I know a person that has, you know, a commercial space for you. You guys should connect. I know a commercial real estate agent that you'd be great with, right? When I find people who are in this space, or I go, what else do you need? Do you need to find ways for banking? Because I understand banking is difficult for you. So then I introduce them to one of my clients is a VP of engineering for Scale. It's a cryptocurrency company. And I go, you guys should connect.
Yeah,
right?
Because like financing in general in that cannabis industry is very tough because it's not legal federally. So that connection is solid gold for sure.
And anyone listening to this, big shout out to Christine Perry. She's the VP of engineering at Scale. They are literally scaling at a rate that I haven't seen before. She's all about educating people of color too who want to get in that space. So if anyone's listening that wants to get into tech, particularly, you know, tech finance or cryptocurrency, like hit me up, hit her up. I'll give you her contact information. I just think it's important for us to start getting into arenas that are groundbreaking and definitely carving space for us to exist there so that we can continue to bring more people. I joke and say I want to be like the modern day Harriet Tubman in business and just bring everybody. Like, come on, guys. Like,
bring us all along because, man, Black people are so creative and we're so resilient with everything. It's like once we get the knowledge and we get a little bit of access, we like kick down the door and we like excel and we crush it in anything that we do. So it's just like we've been held back by a lot of things in society, but you know, some of those barriers starting to come down and we're ready to break out here.
Yeah, and I think it's about perspective. So I encourage people, if that is a limiting belief or that is something that's holding you down, then reposition that story and say maybe it was training day. Maybe they needed to hold you back because you were so great that when you took off, there'd be nothing stopping you. And that your families would crush it, you know? Like, if you think about things in a different way, it allows for your mind to be able to create pathways for you to get there. And so I definitely encourage people to watch the stories they're telling themselves, to watch the way that they label words and the things that they say, because words manifest into the things that they actually see in their life. Words are things.
Absolutely. Even with like, just feeding your mind the right type of information and having the right influences. Like I know within the past couple of months, I kind of like filtered my social media a little bit, like to take away some of the nonsense that was on my timeline. And once you just get a lot of people talking about positivity and business and investing in abundance, it like definitely has a dramatic effect on your mindset. So I would encourage people to just get around the right influences and kind of try to cut off as much negativity as possible.
Oh yeah, your vibe is your tribe, right? So find people at the same vibration and protect that and guard that.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So this is a dope conversation. I want to go on to the last segment. It's called the Fabulous Four, where I just ask everybody the same, 4 questions off the top of your head. So just whatever comes to mind, go for it.
No
So
pressure.
you'll do fine. I know you'll have some super dope answers. So, all right, cool. So the first question is, what's your favorite real estate book?
Ooh, my favorite real estate book. There's so many. I would say number one probably is Gary Keller's book. I want to say is it Millionaire Mindset or
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? That
The
one?
Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Yeah, that's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Okay.
I saw him at Inman, and he shared the stage with he shared the stage with Robert, and it was great to hear different perspectives, traditional versus something different, right? An alternative to the way that real estate has been done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you need both. And I think that is a great book for fundamentals. And if you are a basketball fan or you like Michael Jordan, he's all about his fundamentals. So was Kobe Bryant. So are all these other great professionals in their industry, because they focused on doing the same things over and over and over until it became, second nature.
Absolutely. I would love to see him come out with a updated version for the 21st century, just how, technology and everything has changed the real estate game so much. I would love him to come see with something updated for the new generation. So, but it's a great book though. The second question is, what advice would you give your younger self if you were just getting started out in real estate?
What's funny is that I actually give this advice to Olivia, my daughter Olivia, already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is you get paid in direct proportion to the problems you solve. So,
Amen.
So I used to be like, man, why are all these people like, they don't have to go through the same struggle? Like, I must have bad luck. There's something wrong with me. Like, there's something special about them. I used to tell all these stories in my head. And then, like I said, I started telling a different story, right? I started thinking, okay, what if it was happening for me and not to me? And maybe I'm building tools. Maybe I'm sharpening tools. Maybe I got the dopest toolkit ever that anytime something happens, I'm like, and I see it now, right? With my clients, I see this is the most stressful and challenging experience that they can have in their lives next to giving birth. And I understand, and so I look at it as the experiences I have has prepared me to be the best version of me I can be for you. And I always look at that. It's like, okay, it's not about me. It's about what they need in this moment, who they need in this moment, what they need to hear in this moment. And because of that, I go, okay, everything happens for a reason. Your life happened the way that it was supposed to. And that gives me comfort, because my younger self was always like, I was a worrier, right? It didn't matter. Like, if Mike was running late, I'd be like, something happened to him on the freeway. You know what I mean? Or like, if an escrow,
you gotta be positive for sure with everything you do.
100%. And that shift alone, I have better days.
Awesome. All right. So the third question is, what do you personally want to learn more about when it comes to real estate?
That's a great question. I thought about that question a lot. I think it is about something that hasn't been created yet. It's how to create a referral network, like worldwide, where we talk about each of our markets on the same platform. So somebody can just click on it and they go, that's how you do commercial real estate in Chicago. Or they're like, that's because I was talking to a co-listing agent that I'm working with, and she's in LA, and we're doing something up here in El Dorado Hills. And she goes, dude, we have a different title and escrow company. I'm like, we use the same. Like they're the same person, their title and escrow. And she's like, interesting. I'm like, what else do you know? And we just did this back and forth. But I think it would be cool if it just spelled it out on a site. This is how things are different in these places. this is the expert in this particular field, whether it be commercial, residential, things like that. The world could benefit from it. That's what I want to learn. How do you do that? And who's creating that?
No, that would be cool. Like you said, there's differences between LA and San Francisco. Then obviously there's differences between states like California, and I'm sure like Nevada, Utah are completely different with the laws and the way they do things. And then when you go to another country, that's a whole nother game. So that would be a super dope system. So you're very diverse in tech. So we'll see you build something like that very soon.
Oh, thanks.
Sky's the limit for sure. You'll get there.
Yeah.
So the last question is to just give a shout out to another woman doing some amazing things in real estate.
Yeah, I thought about this one too a lot. All great questions. I really, really, really look up to Leanne Modfrey. She is known as a godmother of Compass. The reason why I look up to her as much as I do is she uses her platform in a way that I would imagine real estate royalty to do it, right? And I don't say that lightly. So before COVID-19, she would host Women of Compass events where we'd all get together, and she would say, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or not, if you're an ally and you just want to show up, be here. I thought that was great. And she had women on a panel who were C-level execs or very high level execs within the company, and her questions would be profound and we couldn't record them, and it would be things like, what is your biggest mistake, right? What are some of your regrets? And it allowed us to see that these people were human, and it took away like the cape that you saw floating in the wind. It didn't make them less of a superhero, but it showed the reverse, right? It showed the Clark Kent. It showed the other side, and it humanized them. And that's why I look up to her so much, because you know how much of a visionary you have to be, or how much like thought you would have to put into knowing that event or the way that you're looking at things could change the way that everyone in the room looks at things. I just think that's so powerful, right? And she would still do tons of business, but she remembered that she needs to liberate others in the process so that they have the ability to do just as great. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful.
That kind of like makes me think of a point that we could have a whole nother hour-long conversation about with Black women in general in the industry, even in our household. I feel like we always have the need to like hold everything down. We have to be, taking care of everybody else. And it's like, we rarely have the chance to really be vulnerable and show our sensitive side, show the things that we're, challenges that we're going to, because we're caring about, everybody else being good. So, just having that vulnerability and being able to just have a moment where it's like, all right, we're not the best at everything. We're not going to always be perfect, but, we're going to rise up above this. So.
And that's funny that you say that, because to me, that's where perfection lies. Right. And I used to look at, when people ask me like, oh, what is your weakness? I would be like, vulnerability. It'd be like, no one's going to see me cry. No, like, no, not ever. You're never going to see that other side. And I'm taking this time in 2020 to take a step back and go, what's wrong with being vulnerable? Does that make you less of something because you're more vulnerable? Is it binary? Do you have to take away from something so that you could be better at something else? I don't think that has to be the case. I really enjoy being a mom and a boss. And I think, for our parents, or at least for our mothers and our mothers' mothers, it was difficult, or you couldn't do it at all. And so I think it's perfectly okay for women today to say, it is a lot. I need some time. I need to do self-care. Self-care is not selfish, because if I don't do it and I go crazy on you guys, then I'm gonna look crazy.
And then everything else will tumble down because everybody's dependent on us for whatever. And it's like, all right, we got to take care of ourselves to be able to more effectively take care of everybody else.
100%. And I feel thankful for, like I said, my husband that gives me the space to do it. Like, I'll give him the signal where I'm like, hey, it's it's about that time where I take a moment and I just get full of myself. And the way that I explain it to them is like, when you start giving yourselves to everybody else, right? And you're like, blah, 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 and especially at the levels in which, like, when you want to achieve your dreams, it becomes even more. Everything's like, right? It's like 10x, and you're like, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, you're like, I'm a drool, you know, and then you're just like, dang, what happened to me? And either you need to put those things daily, right? These little gifts that you give yourself every day, or you need to plan like days out of the week, or, you know, a couple of days out of the month to give back to you, so that you're full of you, so that you're not empty, because you can't give to people when you don't have it.
Absolutely. And then, like you said, the higher you go, the more responsibilities you have, the more people that are taking little pieces of your sanity from you. So you got to have that moment to reset for sure.
100%.
All right, cool. So let people know how they can get in contact with you if they want to just, you know, learn more about what's going on with you, if they want to do business, if they want to learn more about the market, how can they get in touch?
Yeah. All the normal ways. We'll start traditional. You can call me. You can email me. The best way is probably to email the team, the Wilhelm team at Compass. That goes to everyone on the team. That way it doesn't get missed. We can schedule something. I am more than happy to spend some time with anyone. And I think the reason for that is we're exchanging information. There's so much we can learn from each other. And back to like new money is knowledge. So there's knowledge they have to give me, and we can exchange it as currency. So I think that please reach out. Of course, Instagram, LinkedIn. On Instagram, it's Mrs. Nicole Wilhelm _Compass. If you're on LinkedIn, you can just find me by my first and last name. And yeah, I mean, I can't stress it enough. Please connect, because you don't know if I can be a connection to you that gets you somewhere, or vice versa. So don't limit yourself to thinking like, oh no, you know, I'll just wait or whatever. You know, like, no, like if COVID-19 hasn't taught us anything, it should teach us that now is the time and not to take things for granted.
Absolutely, because tomorrow is definitely not promised for sure. And it's like either you like at some point everybody's gonna, you know, go on to glory. So it's like you gotta do whatever you want to do on this earth now. So
I like that she said that. I'm gonna start calling it that. I'm not gonna call it heaven. I'm gonna be like, look, I'm gonna go to glory.
That's like my family is from North Carolina, so that's like the southern roots. They say things like that, go on to glory.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to put all your contact information in the show notes, in the comments on YouTube, so everybody can reach out to you. And is there anything else that you have coming up? Anything else that you want to shed some light on that you want people to know about?
No, I have a question for you, actually.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What caused you to create this show?
Well, it's definitely because I wanted to shed light on all the women of color that were doing amazing things in real estate. And I wanted to really showcase that we're in all walks of real estate, not just the traditional sense that we're realtors on the residential side, that we do commercial, that we're in construction, we're in finance, we are appraisers, we are in all walks of real estate, and we're crushing it out here. And like we said before, we're traditionally have been the minority as far as our skin color and as women. So we definitely add, you know, a really diverse and dope perspective to things. And we're just crushing it out here. So I just wanted to, you know, showcase our stories and show that we're also, you know, doing different things. We're moms, we're business owners, we're multifaceted. And so we're awesome. And I wanted to just shed the light and showcase all of our dopeness.
And I'm thankful that, you know, to be included in that lineup of women that are doing things. I didn't set out to be I never thought like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna be like the dopest in real estate and I'm gonna do this. But then when I got into it, I was like, wow, it's possible. You know? And it's necessary, and there's space. And I don't ever want, maybe that's the last tidbit I'll leave with people. I don't want people to think that the top is crowded. I got several seats, for people to come up, and I want them to come up, and to be a true leader or to be in a tribe of leaders, it's not that you're at the top and you're looking down at everyone. It's that you are in different phases of a mountain, right? And you're pushing other people to get up. And I think that now is the time for us to push each other up. Like, I never want to look down on someone. I only want to be looking down in order to lift them up, to give them a hand to get up. And I want to look up and know that somebody's going to do the same for me. And that's how we all make it.
Absolutely. I always talk about the importance of networking and having great mentors, because a lot of the things that I've done in real estate wouldn't be possible without the people that didn't know me from a can of paint, that were just willing to pay it forward and help somebody learn, help, get more experience. And, with this platform, I try to do the same thing and, just help people, hopefully inspire somebody out there that's thinking, I don't know anything about this industry, or I didn't have a traditional educational background, and just, show that it is possible and we're out here just killing it. So we need more of us.
That was a recruitment call, by the way. That was a PS.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again. This was so dope. This was a great conversation. I hope people were inspired. I hope somebody, triggered some new idea in your mind. And, you're at the heart of the tech capital of the world. So somebody out there might have triggered some vision in their mind. And then, we need to innovate even more in the real estate industry. And why not start with, people of color and women out there? So, let's get our big ideas and get them into fruition for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate the conversation. I really appreciate you taking your time. So yeah, thank you again. And again, I'm Jessica Washington, and this was the next episode of Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.